Sponsors for tonight's news and report are Me Poblitos, which is on Airport Road in 70 West, Albert Pike Auto Sales, which is out 270 West and Mountain Pine Junction, Malone Tax and Bookkeeping Service, which is in Maury White Plaza, and Mardi Gras Steak and Seafood on Higdon Ferry, and Deborah's Restaurant on Central Avenue. And we thank all of our sponsors sincerely for bringing this report to you.
And tonight, I guess, is where it's going to come down to the vote.
Okay. And what I'm hearing is that this is a vote by the city council, the directors, and the mayor to go ahead and annex those areas without actual voting by the citizens of that area. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is going to affect people that have no say in the outcome. Our fate is being voted in tonight with no voice. We've been given opportunities to speak, but unless you can vote, it's really a futile exercise.
It's totally against everybody's will. I mean, being forced to have an annexation, before we always had to vote. My dad was totally against it because he owned a resort there on Lake Hamilton. And it's against our will. We don't have a choice. And it's against, I think, our constitutional right.
Right. Tonight you're here to hear about what the vote is or have some input or...
Well, I'm going to speak again.
Okay.
The process, I think, is a very heavy-handed process. I think that the people need to have a vote. And without that, I believe that it is actually not constitutional. Although there's a state law that gives them this authority, I think it's unconstitutional what they're doing. So that's all I can do.
Are you aware of whether we have annexed areas using this method before in Hot Springs?
No, they used to go and request a vote, and the votes have failed every time. This is a new state legislative maneuver that has just passed in the last legislative session that gives them this authority. Mm-hmm. It's never been tested in court, and I think it's about time that it does.
Thank you. We will now have public comments.
Good evening, everyone. The government is back, as you can see. I'm grateful Mr. Hoffman had brought up some of the things that he did. I was wondering if you gentlemen, I was surprised I didn't see you open up your pocket constitutions and check out if he had...
Name and address, please.
I am so sorry. Roman Terlecki, domiciled in Garland County, 193 Lee Warren Lane, 100-year-old family property from back in homesteading days. I am trustee for a parcel of property in Arzella Acres, and also with my mom at 176 Lake Hamilton Drive. Mom's right here. She's against it too. But anyhow, I'm surprised that you didn't open up your pocket constitutions to just double check what Mr. Hoffman was talking about. We opened up again tonight in prayer. We prayed, we pledged. I fear, because of my Christian responsibility, to share with you that when you're in error, when you're about to go into error, it's my duty as your brother in Christ to come to you if you're an erring brother and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you about to do? The people have so eloquently in the last meeting cited how that their consent was being overlooked. Very, very much in page 1, page 2 of this other very unique document that comes out of the uniqueness of this document, sort of oversees it, from up there in the third heaven, and we've got the Holy Spirit here in the angelic realm that we can't see. But once again, the concern is for your future welfare, just going forward in time, going contrary to what the will of God is, His permissible will, as it's come down through the documents and history. We've got men and women who swore to uphold the Constitution, are off in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there's a number of black flag operations going on where we don't even know where some of these men are, but they've attested the same way that you have. I plead with you that you do the right thing, and that right thing is to follow what the Constitution says, not the enabling statute. The statute is definitely in error, And I'm going to be in prayer because I would hope that if you thought I was in error against God and His Word and the Lord and Savior, that you would come to me and say, Roman, we need to have a talk. I would appreciate that, and I hope you all consider that as well. Vote no on annexation and return Enclave A to the people. Rescind that. You will get blessed as a city for doing the right thing. You may fall into condemnation. I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you choose to obey, a curse if you disrespect. That's pretty strong in principle. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mary Bornable.
I'm Justice Mary Bornable, as Justice of the Peace for District 4.
Address.
My address is 113 Foxwood Street. I do live in the city. I lived in the area of Enclave A that was annexed last fall, and I represent most of the homeowners that are in Enclave B as a county justice. So I guess I'm the only voice that they have, elected voice tonight. At the last meeting, there were several questions that were asked that the public deserves an answer to, and I didn't hear them yet. One of them was, what is it going to cost to put a new fire station on Central Avenue? Not just build the fire station, but to man it and staff it and equip it. Chief Davis didn't mention that when we were talking about annexation A, or Enclave A, but last time he said that now's the time to get the new fire station. Another question that was asked is, how much is this going to cost? And the only answer was, whatever the board approves. I think that the people deserve a more responsive answer to that question. Another question was, what is the motivation to bringing these people in without a vote? That did not receive an answer. Another question was, why hasn't the crime statistics been put into the FBI? I do believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 39,000 calls that the Hot Springs Police Department responded to compared to the 700 and some calls for this area. So there's a big difference. But none of those figures for 2014 was put into the FBI files. There was a question as to why not and what are those figures? People deserve answers. They deserve that respect and they deserve that transparency before being heavy-handedly moved into the city.
Thank you, Houston. You will not let anybody talk for you, right?
Probably not. Skip Houston, 155, 5 Point Circle, still in the county as of now. And, you know, there was a Southern humorist years back, Brother Dave Gardner, that used to say, rejoice, dear hearts. Some of you all remember that. Well, rejoice because George Pritchett is out of town tonight, and I'm not going to take my full 3 minutes. There's really not much I can add. Don't charge my time. Please. You've heard from county resident after county resident, and almost everyone has said in their own words, please just leave us alone. You have nothing to offer us that we want. We want to be left in the county, not dragged into the city by force. To proceed with forced annexation in the face of such determined principal opposition would seem the height of foolishness, yet you appear poised to proceed with that. Enclave B consists of over 600 acres. It has 10 miles approximately of prime lake shoreline. By contrast, it only touches the city limits for about 3.5 miles. Most of it isn't bounded by the city on 3 sides as the law clearly calls for, but only on 2, the north and the west. To call this a stretch of the law is an understatement. We hope this particular stretch of the law doesn't have to be challenged in court. There have been a number of letters and opinion pieces in the Sentinel Record, as well as in the Hot Springs Daily and Arkansas Herald Online. Just today, an article in the paper quoted County Judge Rick Davis as believing the people should vote on it. Quote, I'm not against annexation as long as it's a public decision. I don't like forced annexation. He said, quote, I don't like the fact that they've taken the public's choice away. Pardon me. Most voices have been against annexation, but a few have advocated and some tonight have. And that's what's called a healthy debate, and that's the foundation of our American system. We've never shied away, we as people opposed to this, never shied away from that debate or claimed that we had the only valid viewpoint. What's not a foundation of the American system is what the city has done and is doing. By denying the public the right to vote on the matter, this board is saying, in effect, we know better. That's not the American way. That's authoritarian. It borders on dictatorial conduct. All we've asked is for the opportunity to make our case with our fellow citizens, both city and county, and then vote on it, and we'll abide by the result of that vote. We once again tonight respectfully ask for that right and opportunity. If this board continues to deny us that right, we will have no recourse but to pursue whatever other remedies are available to us. Thank you for your time.
My name is Russell Thomas. I live at 112 Summer Street in the city. And we've heard a lot of compelling arguments tonight on both sides of the issue. But I think that when you go to make your decision, you need to step back. And before you consider any of those arguments, for or against, you need to consider, do you really have the authority to do this? The legislation says that you can do this if you're surrounded, you have 3 boundaries on the city and 1 on the water, 3 sides that are boundaries. And if you look at the map of that, obviously there's nothing whatsoever on the city on the south side, on the boundary. Obviously there's nothing on the east side of the city. I mean, I hope to ask each of you to look at this map and publicly tell us how you see 3 sides that have boundaries by the city and only 1 side by the water. Because it just isn't there. I've asked my elementary and middle school kids, how many boundaries does this purple area have? They both said it has 2 boundaries on the lake and it has 1 boundary on the city. And I think if y'all look at it, in all honesty, that's what you're going to find. The property is not eligible for annexation by a board vote. And I have no opinion either way as to whether it should be annexed. I see the benefits of annexation, but I don't think that's the question. I think we should make this decision based on whether it's eligible for a board vote first. And then once you pass by that, then move on. And you've got an excellent attorney, Brian Albright. He could argue both sides of any issue. If you commit a murder, you go to an attorney, he gets you off. So I have an idea of what Brian is going to say. He's going to find something that my 4th grader and my 8th grader wouldn't understand. And I ask you to make your decisions based on whether you see 3 sides or not that are surrounded by the city. Thank you.
Let's not know each other. Can I ask him a question?
Yes.
What would you say about track A?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wrote a letter to the editor. That's clear. Absolutely. And in that letter to the editor, I stated that that is surrounded on 3 sides by the city and that you have the right to do so. And beyond that, I don't have an opinion. I honestly do not have an opinion as to whether we should annex this or not, because I see some public safety benefits in it. But I do not think it should be forced. I think it should be by a vote, and I don't think it can legally be done without a vote. Brian's going to get his chance to take a stab at me in a minute.
Diane Silverman.
Good evening. My name is Diane Silverman. I live at 1404 Cedar Glade Road. I'm here at the request of many people, city and county residents, who have already made it clear to you that they oppose your intention to annex certain enclaves into the city without a public vote. I'm here to suggest that you pause in your heated intention to move forward without a public vote. Whether the annexation schemes are to increase city population or to increase city taxes and fees base is not the biggest issue. What is most at issue is to acknowledge that we do not yet live under the Communist Manifesto. Do we? Our Constitution makes it very clear. I hold here in my hands the greatest statements of human liberty ever written, the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. It makes very clear that government derives its power from the consent of the people and that the people retain the right to alter or abolish government when it becomes destructive of those ends. In that light, many people in the city and county feel that your tactics for annexing people's property into the city without a public vote is abusive. And should any of the board of directors persist in the attempt to move county property into the city without a public vote, it will be cause for recall of any director who votes to do so. Unless we the people stand for our constitutional rights in cities and towns across the nation, we will likely, maybe soon, lose the freedoms we cherish, of which property rights are right at the top. We cannot allow the board of directors to set a precedent of forced annexation because the city will soon want all of the county. We fought you on the ETJ. We gave in to a certain extent when it seemed somewhat reasonable. But if we don't stand up now, if we do not take a stand, we the people, then you will run over us, sure as we are standing here today to take more of the county because you will have set a precedent and we will have let you do that. If you insist on denying a public vote, the people will vote a no confidence in this board of directors and go forward with a recall, which they have the right to do. Perhaps it's best to step back at this time to examine who wins and who loses if the board continues to abuse its oath of office. A recall is not a nice thing. It certainly is not something a board member would cherish, and it's not something that people want to do. But the tenets of freedom are more powerful than either of those considerations. It's time to think it over. In the meantime, there is a meeting this Saturday at 1 p.m. to begin the recall process in case you don't allow a public vote. The group has rented the 5-Star Theater at 1 o'clock this Saturday. This will be an organizational meeting. It's not a town hall. It's not a debate. Several people in this room have organized and led successful recall campaigns before and are willing to lead and do it again. Everyone who wants to participate in the recall process is welcome. Please do not have your breaks. The meeting will only last about an hour.
Well, I just want to say this. I'm going to say the same thing that I did the night we enacted Enclave Area A. I appreciate everybody that attended those hearings, these hearings, that have contacted me both for and against. However, my mind was made up on this issue 20 years ago when I was county judge. And in areas, enclave areas A and B, it was always my viewpoint that those areas logically belong in the city and could just be served by the city. I had 3 road commissioners that served under me who used to say, Judge, why isn't this in the city? So nothing has been said to change my mind because I've always felt that these areas belong in the city. However, moving forward, I do not share similar views about other areas proposed for annexation because they're not along that Central Avenue line that I had to serve. And I'm not sure in the future that I could vote for any more annexation. So I will vote for this one tonight. And I know we've had various views on representation expressed tonight, and this is my view, expressed by Edmund Burke in his speech to the electors of Bristol, England in 1774. All right, before you put down somebody who's English, he actually spoke in behalf of the colonists and tried to prevent the Revolutionary War. He felt like the colonists had a legitimate argument, okay? So before you dismiss somebody because they're English, by the way, I have English here. Your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment. And he betrays instead of serving you if he sacrifices it to your opinion.
Annex that area, but I was voting on by the people to represent the people, and I feel like you need a vote. Whether or not it is annexed or not, I feel like the people of our city need to be able to vote about what happens to their property, especially in a landmass as large as what we're discussing. So it has nothing to do with the annexation as much as it has to be your rights constitutionally to vote. So I will vote no again.
Any law passed by Congress or the state legislature or even by this body is deemed constitutional unless taken to the courts and they rule otherwise. It's true.
See you in court. No one's questioning.
So
Here, Larry, here is the court, right here, right now.
what I'm saying is, some people are saying this law is not legal or constitutional. It is unless taken to the court and the courts overturn it and say the legislature overreached.
God is watching.
Nobody said it wasn't legal.
That's not exactly true.
No.
Okay.
Each one of the branches
Okay,
is-
Mr. Williams, we don't need to argue with people.
They're arguing with me.
No.
Williams,
Yes.
Remick. Aye. Foley. Aye. Davidson.
Aye.
Clark. Aye. Carney.
No.
The ayes have it.
I'll say good night.
Well, I am here with Diane Silverman, and you spoke inside that city council meeting, and I want to hear a little bit about what you had to say.
Well, people come up with all kinds of opinions, their own opinions about the issue, and they're entitled to do that. But none of those issues are as important as our constitutional rights. This city has already proven that it wants to grab our land, and it wants to move people into the city for whatever their reasons are. If we allow that to happen, then it will set a precedent, and they will just keep riding right over us anytime they want to. This is a situation where the people in this country, we need to show that we, the people, will not put up with it, that we will defend our constitutional rights.
Sponsors for tonight's news and report are Me Publitos, which is on Airport Road and 70 West, Albert Pike Auto Sales, which is out 270 West and Mountain Pine Junction, Malone Tax and Bookkeeping Service, which is in Maury White Plaza, and Mardi Gras Steak and Seafood on Higdon Ferry, and Deborah's Restaurant on Central Avenue. And we thank all of our sponsors sincerely for bringing this report to you.